Hey everybody, Doug here, and it's just me this week. Leo is busy, so we're gonna talk about some stuff. We're gonna talk about some reviews. Because of the craziness with the Thanksgiving holiday and all that good stuff. We had some reviews that have been written and uploaded onto the WordPress page that I just haven't had time to sit down and do audio versions of yet. So that's going to be like a good half of what this episode is going to be. And because of just how much stuff I want to talk about in this episode, there might not be it might not be one whole take. It might be cut halfway through. Um, that being said, we just had a casino show over this past weekend, and my wife did something where basically I was asked to do a cover of a Taylor Swift song, and I did it, and my wife put it on TikTok, and I'm thinking about doing a TikTok, so that might be something to look for in the future. Me singing songs, stuff like that. Uh, as far as reviews go, let me see something real quick. The Doomsday Paradise. That is another one of those games that we've done the written review for, but it's a game that we're given multiple codes for. So Leo and I are gonna wait to do that episode together. It's what we were gonna do for this week, but we're gonna put it off till next week. So that if you want to check out what we think about that game, you can find it on our WordPress page again. If you go to either one of our socials, the Night Ride Home podcast on Twitter or on Facebook, you can find the link there to the WordPress page. We've got all kinds of reviews on there. There are some reviews that I have done that were never done on podcasts just because I felt like writing them. Like Baldur's Gate 3 is on there. That review's there. I did one for Faith Farm. What else did I do on there? I know I have others. I know I have other written reviews that I've done on there that have not been on, podcasts. But, just go look, take a look, subscribe to it, share it with your friends, stuff like that. Another thing on housekeeping, if you will remember, the very first game code we were given was for an early access title called Blood West. That game is fully released now. It came out on December 3rd, I think. December 3rd, maybe? That's my wedding anniversary. But anyway, December 3rd might not be right. The more I think, that's not right because that's a Sunday. Uh, it, all you need to know that is it's out. If you like stealth, there is one thing I want to say. The trailers kind of bill it as a kind of like an action horror first person shooter. Just go in with the expectation that it is more of a stealth based game, and you should approach it as such. Just a little warning. It is a really good game. It works. It works on the Steam Deck. You just have to make some adjustments here and there for the controls to make it comfortable. What else do we have for housekeeping? Oh, so this is something that kind of just fell into my lap. Uh, we are going to be the Night Ride Home podcast is going to be getting an Asus ROG Ally. So our reviews are probably going to be looking at the performance on that console as well. But all that being said, the first thing I wanted to talk about on this episode was if you listen to the Thanksgiving Hangover episode, you know that I've been playing the original Modern Warfare trilogy because my wife played the new Modern Warfare trilogy. Well, I say the new Modern Warfare trilogy. She only played 2 and 3 because that's the ones with Ghost in them, and you can connect those dots. Uh, but it just really made me want to go back and replay that original trilogy. What a trilogy of games. Modern Warfare 1 is still an absolute masterpiece. Modern Warfare 2 is a masterpiece too. Modern Warfare 3, uh, it's a great shooter, but not that good of a bookend for that trilogy. Uh, we're going to talk about this too. I've got this new gaming list, right? because a few weeks ago, I want to say after I beat the Lake DLC, which that's one of the reviews we're gonna try to get to on this episode. I had this moment where I was just looking at my Steam library, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games, and I just didn't know what to play. And it was kind of like, oh, you know what? I need to, hold on, let me pull over here real quick. I need to let my wife know that I'm out of class. Okay, all right, now we're going again. Uh, okay, so yeah, I kind of made a list of like all the games that I really wanted to play, and as I was kind of looking through, I made a list of all the games I wanted, and the list started off with the Modern Warfare trilogy, but then I also added in the Yakuza games and the Fear trilogy, games of that nature. The the problem, okay, so in the original Modern Warfare trilogy and Fear, the DLC, and Fear 2, all of these games are all available to play on consoles. They all have Xbox and PlayStation ports, all of them. But there's no controller support on PC, which is absolutely ridiculous. I have no idea how game development works, but I'm pretty sure they can get this happening if they really wanted to. It's really frustrating. As somebody who's a big supporter of games preservation, I really think that I just don't understand why this isn't a thing. I can play these games on my 360 if I wanted to, but I'm rambling, but it's just really weird that there's no controller support for these games, and you have to go in and get a Steam profile downloaded. And I guess that's going to be something I'm going to look into in the future because I don't know. Because I know, like, if I go onto my Steam Deck, I can find a Steam Deck profile for all these games that I'm looking at. But I wonder if there's like a thing for the ROG Ally. That's gonna be something I'm going to look into. Anyway, uh, so yeah, I played the original Modern Warfare trilogy, and it's gotten me to I've added every Call of Duty game onto this list in some way, shape, or form. So I'm thinking about doing a series in the future where I kind of rank and review. It's a solo thing, the Call of Duty games, and I know we start so many series that we don't finish on here, and it's mainly just because this podcast is kind of like a free form entity. And if we get to a point where a series doesn't really make sense, or if I don't want to pursue it at that particular time, I'll kind of back off and stop all that good stuff. But I really feel like this one's going to go ahead because I had an absolute blast with this Modern Warfare trilogy, and looking at all the Call of Duty games, there's a few that I have not played, like Call of Duty World War II. I didn't play that one. Call of Duty Vanguard. Yeah, that's the one. And I have played Modern Warfare, the 2019 one. I played through that campaign once, but I don't remember it. And I kind of just haphazardly. That's not how. I kind of just half saw what happens in 2 and 3, the rebooted ones. So this is going to be a cool thing. I never played all of the little Call of Duty expansions that they did, all the side games. Uh, Call of Duty 1, 2, and 3, I never played through all the way. Those were just kind of games that I played here. And like I remember when Call of Duty 1 came out as an Xbox Live Arcade game, and then also Call of Duty 2 and 3 were both 360 games that I just kind of dabbled in, but I never really got into the nitty gritty of it. And Fear, that's another franchise that I really want to get into. But again, you just heard me say that all these games in Call of Duty 1, 2, 3, Fear, 1, the DLCs, and 2, all these are on console, but no controller support on PC. I'm harping on this, but it really makes me mad. It almost makes me want to, when I get the ASUS, the RG, the ROG Ally in it, it almost makes me want to allegedly just install the Xbox 360 emulator and play them that way because I own the games. I have them, but it's just silly that it doesn't just work. Uh, but yeah, so uh, Fear, Call of Duty, Yakuza, like those are probably all going to. I think I'm going to try to at least do, you know, some ranking series on my own, little solo things. And I've actually also been playing like some Castlevania stuff. You've heard me and Leo talk about that, so that might be a series at one point too. Uh, what else we got here? Okay, so we're gonna get into the reviews now, and we're gonna start with Dredge the Pale Reach. And let me just say before we get started, bravo to the team behind whatever. You know what? I'm going to add in a segment where I can go in and look this stuff up because I can't. The PR team behind Dredge, I, I'm I, I'm a part. Like I work with so many different PR teams that sometimes it's hard to get them straight in my head. So I'm gonna look up all the PR teams involved for the codes that were given to me, and we'll give them shout outs at the beginning of the episode. But so I requested the Pale Reach DLC because earlier in the year I played Dredge. I loved it, and I requested the key, and the way Press Engine works is I didn't request it through Press Engine. I requested it through, I want to say directly through the PR team, but on Press Engine we got the code assigned to us, and they assigned me a PlayStation code, and I had played the game on PC. I didn't really want to start again on PlayStation. I really just wanted to play it on PC. So I reached out to the PR team, and they were awesome. They got back to me pretty quickly, and they gave me a Steam key for the DLC. I just want to really thank them for that. And yeah, so the DLC is very short. You know what? Let me start this again. If you haven't played Dredge, it's basically a mix of a horror experience and a fishing sim where you are basically you roll up into a town, your boat's damaged, and you get another boat, and you have to, start fishing and selling the fish to make money. And they're pretty adamant. It's like, hey, you might not want to go out at night because there's some weird stuff out there. But eventually, you do. And the whole time, the whole time we're playing this game, especially at the beginning, you just have this feeling of something's not right. And as you go on and you start to fish at night, you have to, wrestle with hallucinations and monsters and stuff of that nature. And some of it's actually very horrifying. But what I want to talk about today is the Pale Reach and the DLC. It adds a new little area towards the bottom of the map, and it's all ice. And you go down. You basically from the main town. They say, "Hey, there's this photographer that she wants to meet with you. Just go on down there." You go down, and it starts about an hour long play session. There's some new fish to get, and I don't know the exact number, but it's a handful of quests. All these quests are great. The new enemy, which is you know what? I'm not going to say what the enemy is. I don't know if I said it in my written review, but I'm not going to say it. But it is a really fun enemy to deal with, and it really made this entire DLC. What's the word I'm looking for? It really makes the DLC pop because it is a fan. You have a new things to do in the game. You have new things to put on your boat. You get an icebreaker. Um, there's some new song. There's new tracks. I don't know why I'm stumbling so bad. Muttering. No, not muttering. I guess I'm ranting. I'm going on a rant here. Anyway, I'm gonna get back to it. There's some more songs in the soundtrack, which is great because Dredge has one of the best video game soundtracks this year alone. I don't know if they're nominated at the Game Awards for their soundtrack, but they really should be. They really, really, really should be. Uh, like I said though, the main thing about it, it's only about an hour long, maybe a little bit more depending on where mileage may vary depending on how quick that you pick up on things. My playtime was just over an hour total. I want to say the DLC is about $5 or $6. So I mean, it really is just up to you on whether that's worth it for you. Uh, it was worth it for me, even if I didn't get a code given to me by the PR team. But yeah, if you like Dredge, it's a great reason to get back into the game. And if you haven't played Dredge, pick up both because Dredge is easily one of the best indie games that came out this year. Moving on from Dredge the Pale Reach, we're going into In Stars and Time. Now, this is a game that I had known nothing about. I just kind of got an email. It's like, hey, we've got keys for this game. Are you interested? And I looked. It had a cool black and white art style. So I said, yeah, sure, we'll get it. I can't remember the last time I've been so surprised by a game I had never heard of before. It is basically a time loop, turn-based RPG. It's fairly on the short side. I want to say you'll probably get it under 10 hours. Uh, there have been there have been some review outlets that say much longer than that, but I don't know how they got that many hours out of it. Uh, but you play a Sifrin, and you basically have to gather your friends. Uh, I'm driving, so I can't really remember their names. There's Mirabella. There is uh, Isabeau. There is, I say all the names of the review. You should go read that. Uh, but basically, you have your goal is that you have to go to in the morning. You have to go to uh, this lair and just defeat the evil king. If you don't, he will freeze all of time, and everybody will be frozen in time forever. So basically, you go in and you die almost immediately, and you're introduced to the time loop mechanic that this game has. Basically, when you die, you can choose a point of time to come back at, and whatever time you go back at, everybody but you has reverted to the level and the stats they were at that time. The game explains this by saying that basically you remember everything that happened, so you retain your experience. And you basically you keep going this way, and there are some force loops that you have to do that are kind of annoying, but yeah, at the same time, some of them make sense because they introduce important gameplay mechanics like the tiers that freeze you in time. Sometimes you get stuck in a loop where you can't progress, and if you just touch a tier, you can loop back to where you need to go. Uh, the art style in this game, fantastic. The soundtrack is fantastic as well. I think they actually just put it on Spotify. You know what? They did put it on Spotify because I added it to my playlist to listen to eventually. The combat in this game is fantastic. It is. It basically works on a rock paper scissors system, where when you get into battle, I would say 9 times out of 10, you can see the enemy making some kind of hand gesture, whether it be rock, paper, scissors. You have to use the attack that corresponds with it. Obviously, if they're making a rock symbol, you have to hit them with paper attacks, and scissor and rock attacks aren't going to work as well. Uh, every one of your party members have attacks that they can use of different attributes. Like for example, Sifrin has scissor-based attacks, and Mirabella has scissor and paper-based attacks. Yeah, that sounds right. Uh, so you want to use the appropriate attack for the enemy, and also you want to keep a chain going of the type of attacks you use, because if you, let's say you're going up against a paper enemy and you use 5 scissor attacks in a row, you will get a combo attack which will do a lot of damage, and it will also heal anybody. It'll heal your party, not fully, but a good amount, and it will revive any members of your party that are downed. So I mean, it's just a really good incentive to keep those attacks, keep things strategic. And different party members also have attacks that can speed up your party or slow down the enemy. Switch over to somebody else's turn that can use the appropriate attack, stuff like that. It really keeps a flow to the combat that's really special, and it really helps to differentiate this game from other RPGs in the genre. Uh, the the castle, the lair, it's really fun to explore it because not only are you seeing all these really creative designs for the enemies, but you're learning backstory to the world. You're learning things about your party members and how they got to the situation they're in now. The difficulty for the game, I never felt that it was truly difficult until the final boss fight, and then I was kind of like, this is really wearing on me. It really felt like the difficulty really ramped up out of nowhere. Uh, I want to say I only ever died on the final boss fight. I died a couple of times before I was able to pull through. As far as frustrating things, I would say the only thing that really was frustrating was when there were needless loops. And what I mean by needless loops is there is a room where you go in and you search the room top to bottom. And there is a desk with an item that you need. You search the desk, you don't find anything, and you go outside and the room collapses in. And basically the game's like, okay, you can't progress any further because there's the thing you need was in that desk. And real quick, I will say that it is very good at letting you know if you can't progress anymore. If you can't progress in a loop anymore, it puts a little X at the top right of the screen. That's really nice. But the issue that I had was I checked that desk. So it should not have been it was a needless loop. It did not need to happen. It should have been like, oh, this is in here. Boom. Don't need to go back. Uh I think that only happens like once or twice where it's a needless loop. Uh but it was very annoying when it happened. The save points are littered throughout the lair, and basically when you interact with the save point, everybody gets healed up, and you can save there. Um, I'm not sure on the cost of this game, but I will say that if you like turn-based RPGs, it is absolutely worth it. The combat's great, the story is great, the characters are all. I love every one of them. Uh, yeah, Stars in Time, fantastic RPG. I absolutely recommend it. Next on the agenda, we have Lake Season's Greetings. So, Lake is a game. I've told the story of how I got the idea to do this podcast as a thing that I do on my ride home. But Lake was what really it was the first game review I ever wrote, and one day I'm gonna have to see if I can still find that review and pull it up. But Lake is basically it is a I would definitely say it is a cozy game. It fits very well into that. Excuse me, I gotta look up there into that genre. Uh, you are a mailman or a male woman in the original Lake, and you play as Meredith Wise in the original Lake, and you play as her father, who is Thomas Wise, and you basically go through the Christmas that happens before the events in Lake. So it's like the original Lake takes place like 8 or 9 months after the DLC. It's a Christmas themed DLC, and I probably sunk about anywhere somewhere between 3 to 5 hours to complete it. And I think this DLC is $10, and you can get the game pretty cheap if you know where to look and when to look. Uh, you start off. I think it's over like a 1 to 2 week span, and every day you are given packages and letters, and you have a map of the town, and the game is pretty much like whatever order you want, just deliver all the stuff. And as you deliver the mail, you got a radio that plays, you know, it plays some actually decent songs. A few of the songs I added into my Spotify playlist, and all the songs from the original Lake are here in the DLC, plus some Christmas songs that they added into the mix to make it feel festive. Um, I will say that there's, hmm, I don't know how many songs there are, but you're going to be tired of them by the time you get to the end because they're just randomized, and you hear the same songs. You're gonna hear the same songs a lot as you play through the game. That being said, though, there are a lot of songs that I heard more than others. Like there's a song in the playlist called uh Dad Burned the Christmas Tree or something like that. I'm butchering that title, but that's the gist of it. And I heard it once in my entire playthrough. But the last days of September, I heard that song so many times, and not necessarily a bad thing because I like that song. It's just something you got to be prepared for. You're gonna hear the same songs a lot. Uh, but yeah, you just kind of drive around Providence Oaks and you deliver the mail and you interact with the townsfolk, and that's the game. Uh, if that doesn't sound like it's your bag, then I mean, it's just not going to be for you. I loved Lake and Season's Greetings, but I tried to get my wife to play it, and she just didn't vibe with it. She didn't like it as much as I liked it. Uh, but the the greatness of this game is in Providence Oaks and its residents themselves, the characters, I should say. Every town's member that I interacted with felt like an actual person. It didn't feel like just NPCs I was talking to. I fell in love with every character in this game, even the jerk characters. I was like, I hate you, but I love you. You know what I mean? Uh, they're all voice acted beautifully, and just driving around in the snow covered Providence Oaks. The game is beautiful. It ran great on my Steam Deck. I actually played the original Lake entirely through xCloud. It's not on Game Pass anymore, I don't believe, but I mean, just a fantastic, cozy game. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but I do absolutely recommend playing the original Lake first, and then playing the DLC. But I mean, you can, if you really want to, you can just play one or the other. Uh, when I did roll the credits on this game, though, it's weird. I felt happy emotional, if that makes sense. Like as I was watching the credits, I was like, man, I really love Providence Oaks. I loves them characters. Uh, just an absolutely fantastic game. Uh, so yeah, Lake Season's Greetings. Play both of them, or if you've already played Lake, like the cultured individual that you are, that is what you should hit up next. I think we'll have time for one more review in this chunk of the episode, and then we're gonna cut it off. But Backpack Hero, I got this code on Switch, and it is basically a dungeon crawler game with some roguelike and city builder elements put into it. Uh, Backpack Hero was already out on PC, I believe, and then if you watch the latest Nintendo Indie Showcase, they this game was part of that, and they released it the same day. Basically, you're a little mouse. You're adorable. Don't worry about it. And you've got a backpack. And as you go through the dungeons, you level up. You unlock upgrades to your backpack. You get better gear like swords and armor, stuff like that. Uh, and then the combat is this. It's turn based, but also energy based. If that makes sense, because you have a certain amount of action points that you can use, and you can use them in really any fashion that you want. Like you can just do straight up just attacks with your sword or any other combat items you have, or you can use your shield to boost up your defense points, and then use the rest of your energy on attacking or healing yourself with food that you have. Uh, you have a basic overlay of the map where you can see where you're going and where you need to go, and where there are points where you can heal. You can see where enemies are, stuff of that nature. And when you get to the end of each dungeon run, you can you can you fight a boss enemy. I found that the boss enemy on the first run was appropriately scaled, I should say. I didn't feel like it was too difficult, but every run after that, I felt like no matter how much preparation I did in the run, I was not prepared to fight the boss. And it really made me not want to play the game. Every run I was like, this This is not. This doesn't feel good. But other than those, difficult boss fights, uh, after every run, you can put your money into the improving your town and building stores to help you on the next run. Uh, in that way, the city building part and the moment to moment gameplay were fantastic. I just felt that the boss fights were super un, unbalanced. Yeah, I guess that's the word I want. Unbalanced. That being said, though, the graphical style in this game was great. I played it on my Switch OLED, like I said. It was I got a Switch code. Uh, I want to say Backpack Hero. I want to say that was through Evolve PR. I think I'll have to look on that. When you hear the intro of this episode, when I talk about all the PR people that helped us in this episode, with these review codes, uh, I'll straighten out who gave us the code for that. But yeah, Backpack Hero, I want to say the game is fairly cheap. It's on the shorter side if you just want a quick experience. And yeah, check it out, guys. And that's where we're going to wrap up this segment of the episode. We're going to record another segment to bookend this with reviews. What else we got here? Roots of Pacha. I think I'm pronouncing it right. I can't wait to talk about that one. And a retro FPS called Wizordum. Uh, yeah, we'll see you over in there. What's up, everybody? We're starting the second part of this episode now, and before we get on the road here, I'm going to go ahead and do the PR teams and the people that got me these codes now instead of the beginning part of the episode, because then that's the third part, and call me lazy if you want, but I'll just do it here. In Stars in Time, that was the Player 2 PR. Dredge Pale Reach, that was actually the publisher, Team 17, that gave me the code for that one. Backpack Hero was Evolve PR. Roots of Pacha and Wizordum is Stride PR. So all that being said, in the first part we talked about most of the games, and the reason I didn't talk about the PR team behind Lakes DLC is because I actually bought that one on my that came out of my pocket, so I didn't get a code for that. Uh, all that being said, now we're going to talk about we're going to do Wizardom first. This was a game again. Like a lot of the games that we review here on the show, I had never heard of this game until I got the email saying, "Hey, do you want this code?" And it is a first-person shooter in the visual style of like your classic first-person shooters, your Dooms, your Wolfensteins, stuff like that. But the difference in this one is that the game has a medieval style where you're going around. Your starting weapon is like this magical mace, and you get spells as you go. And there's like a little little wizard shotgun that you can use. All a bunch of really cool medieval themed things. Your enemies are like goblins and stuff like that. Uh, this is more of an early access title because there's only like a few levels to play right now. Uh, if you played, the classic first person shooters like Doom and all that, then you know exactly what you're getting here. You're getting a bunch of semi short levels where you have to get from point A to point B, and in these levels you have to kill enemies. You have to look for keys, scrounge for ammo and for your spells, and just mainly stuff like that. There's not a whole lot to talk about in the review for Wizardom because there's not a whole lot of game here. Uh, I will say that the problems that I do have with Wizardom are things that I believe could be fixed in the future. Um, the gameplay itself is great, but at the same time, the controls are they're off. I'll just say that they are off. The start button does nothing. The select button brings up the menu. Um, you can't hit select again to get out of the menu. You have to hit the B button. You you have like little tools like torches and stuff that you can use. Left, I think it's left on the D pad changes your tools, and right changes your weapon. I think that instead, select should have been used to cycle through the tools, and the right and left D-pad should have been used to scroll through your weapon wheel. Because if you accidentally hit the right button on the D-pad, if you're just trying to really scroll to the weapon you need and you miss it, it really puts you in a bind. Um, Other than that, the controls, for the most part, were pretty fine. The only issue that I mean, this is not just an issue just for this game alone. It is an issue with every first-person shooter from this time. The early FPS era. A lot like a, after you see the level you're in, the the visual aspect of it wears pretty thin on you almost immediately. And because of how the gameplay works, a lot of times you're just trying to figure out where you are because there's you can find maps. Sorry, there's a truck in front of me that's really loud. You can find maps, but they don't really help all that much because it's hard to navigate with them. Um, all these things though can be fixed in future updates, and I'd like to believe. I don't think they're going to fix the getting lost in these levels looking for these keys. I don't think that's going to be fixed because that's just. I feel like this is a tribute to those games. Um, but the controls I think should definitely be fixed. As far as performance, I played this on Steam Deck. Everything ran great. Uh, what else do I need to say about this? Oh, in my written review, which you can find this on the WordPress page. You should be able to find this on the WordPress page by the time this episode goes live. I talk about game Sea of Stars because Sea of Stars is a game that harkens back to all of the SNES, you know, that era of RPGs and how it does those perfectly. It is a perfect throwback to those games because it takes what we love about those games and adds in modern elements. I think that is what would benefit Wizardum the most. Uh, but yeah, I think that if they were to add in some modern implementations while still keeping the retro style and fix some of the controls here and there, I think that this would be a fantastic addition to any PC player's library, especially if you like those retro first-person shooters. Now, going in to the last game of the show, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's either Roots of Pacha or Roots of Pacha. I don't know which one it is. This game is awesome. Uh, I've had the pleasure of reviewing some really good games since we started the Night Ride Home podcast. This is one of my favorites. It is well, okay, so I'm still writing the written review, but in the written review, I'm basically saying that when I played Stardew Valley when it first came out, ever since I played that game, I have been chasing a metaphorical dragon of trying to find something that scratches that itch that Stardew Valley left behind. Because, I mean, I've played games that were like Stardew Valley since then. Like earlier this year, I reviewed Fae Farm, and when I reviewed Fae Farm, it the way I felt about it was it did not feel like a Stardew Valley 2. It felt close to a Stardew Valley 2, but it felt more of a spin-off than a sequel. Uh, Obviously, Stardew Valley has more advanced things in it than this game. So I mean, I get this is like a pre-sequel, like it's a prequel but a sequel. You know what I mean? Uh, you are you're a member of a tribe, in ancient, prehistoric times. But I wouldn't say prehistoric because there's no I haven't seen any dinosaurs. I haven't seen any. Uh, I still have a little ways to go in this game, but I've played enough to where I can tell you that you need to go pick this game up immediately. If you like Stardew Valley, like if you like cozy farming sim games, this is a game that should not escape your radar. You're a member of a tribe and you go to a new land that your god Pacha, whatever. Um, it tells you to go to this new land, and as you expand and explore into this new land, you find new areas that you can go into, and your character is in charge of the crops. So like almost immediately you're given. I don't even remember. I think the first seeds that you find are carrots. You're given carrot seeds to start with, but so you till your land, you plant your crops, you get going. And what I really appreciate about this game is that you do not have to buy your seeds every season because this is you know very early in the timeline as far as farming and settlement building goes. So you can actually you unlock a seed store eventually. But what you can also do is you can scour the map and you can see what kind of seeds you can find on your own, which I think is just a marvelous idea. And everything else works as you would expect. These simulators to go, these farming sims. You plant your crops, you water them every day unless it's raining, and then it takes that chore away from you. But where things kind of start to differentiate themselves in this game is what happens when you get your crops. Now you can put them in the I'm blanking on the name of the pot, but there's like a pot that basically serves like the chest that you put things in to sell things off. It's pretty much like that. And how it basically works is you put all the things you want in there, and you oh, my screen just kind of changed there for a minute. Sorry. You get prosperity points, and you also get a currency that you can spend on upgrades and yada yada yada. Basically, these prosperity points go into a meter, and when the meter fills up, your clan levels up, and they start a new project, or somebody in the clan gets a new idea. And this leads to things like community gardens and juicers, just stuff like that. The quality of life things. So the game is incentivizing you not just with currency that you can spend to get the things you want, but you can also it also unlocks things that the more you put into your community. The crops that you get, like right now in the game, I'm as soon as I harvest my crops, I either grind I can grind down the grain to get flour. I can juice any fruits that I harvest. I can make wine or beer. And eggplants, you can ferment, yeah, you can ferment the eggplants. Just all the farming stuff that you want in a farming sim. Where this game further differentiates itself, I feel, is that there is no combat. There are these cave systems that work similarly to how games like Stardew and Faith Farm operate, where you have to break a certain amount of rocks before you can unlock the next room. And there are way points that you unlock as you go. There are ore and gemstones that you can find as you go through. But there are also unlockable abilities like if there's like a little owl totem on the ground, you can turn into an owl and fly to the across like a chasm to get to another owl emblem, so you can change back into a human. There's a monkey one that lets you like hop over some rocks, which is I don't know if they're gonna explain it deeper, but I think it's kind of stupid. I don't need to be a monkey to jump across those. Golden Sun told me that I could jump across anything I want. Uh, I kind of lost my train of thought, but so yeah, you're in this loop where you're harvesting materials to upgrade your farm. You're going through these caves to find out the secret, and then there's also this altar where as you go, you're fulfilling prophecies that are on this altar, and as you fulfill prophecies, you unlock these pyramids. And again, I haven't unlocked all the pyramids yet. I don't know what happens when I unlock all of them, but I am like this is a game I'm gonna play through to the end, to the point where I'm gonna kind of put this game off uh, to kind of clear some of the other reviews that we have on our slate. But I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see how this game wraps up. I'm about 15-20 hours in, and I think How Long to Beat says this game is about 30 hours. So if you like Stardew Valley, if you liked Fae Farm, but you just felt like it scratched an itch, but not as much as you wanted it to. Oh, before we continue, I'm gonna come back to that point. We're gonna wrap this up in a nice little bow. What I loved, well, let's start this way. What I did not love about Fae Farm is that the seasons felt like they were just clean slates with no purpose. Because in Fae Farm and in Stardew, when you go into new seasons, all your crops are useless. You have to start from scratch. But what Fae Farm did that I did not like is that they did not have seasonal seeds like readily available. You had to get the same seeds over and over and over again, and then use special fertilizer or soil to change them into the different seasonal variants. Stardew, they took away all your crops as well, but they also had seasonal seeds that you could buy from your seed store. What what this game does, I'm gonna call it ROP for Roots of Pacha. You know what I mean? ROP. What ROP does really well is that when your season rolls over, it takes away some of your crops, not all of them. Uh, like when spring rolled over into summer, I still had all my tomato crops. Uh, and then rolling over into fall, I forget. Uh, the butternut squashes were still there, and I don't think it was the garbanzo. I can't remember what it is on, but like there are crops that carry over, so you're not like just completely, you know, put out. But going back to that little wrapping it up nice in a bow thing, this game takes the elements of Stardew Valley that I liked and the elements of Fae Farms that I didn't like, and took out a lot of things that weren't so great about those games, and it kind of made one cohesive package that I really enjoyed. This game has multiplayer. I did not have anybody else that was playing this game at the time, so I did not get to try it. Um, I know for sure this game's out on PC. It's out on Switch. I'm not sure if it's out on anything else. I would not be shocked to learn this game. If this game is on Xbox and PlayStation, I wouldn't be shocked. Mm. Oh, there's that sign I just did. That's great. Uh, oh, one negative that I do have to say about the game, and this is it's a nitpick more than it is an actual problem. There are too many menus. So many menus that the first hour of the game I was not having fun because I was scrolling through like 500 different menus trying to figure out what menu I needed to get to figure out where I needed to be. Sometimes the menus are helpful because you can scroll through all of the villagers. You can see which ones are romanceable and which ones are not. You can see their family members. You can also find a particular villager and it'll show you exactly where they are on the map. Just little good stuff like that. Now, uh, I think now I've gotten all that I need to say out of this game. This game is fantastic. If you like farming sims like this, it's a no-brainer. Uh, it makes me really excited to get my ROG Ally in because I've got Game Pass and I can play Coral Island, and that's the next like farming simulator type game that I want to play. So again, uh, thanks to Stride PR, all the PR teams that we work with, you know, uh, we were talking about it earlier. Stride PR, Evolve PR, Player Two PR, and the team over at Team 17, Kepler Interactive was another team that's been really good to us. I'm sure that there's so many people that I'm leaving out here, but from the bottom of my heart, and I know Leo feels the same way. It's just an absolute honor to be able to do this, to be trusted with these game reviews, and to experience games that I would not have played otherwise. And obviously there are games that we saw the review codes, we requested them, and we got them, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Cyberpunk, Phantom Liberty. But then there have been so many games that I don't know if if it wasn't for the podcast, I don't know if I would have gotten around to them, like Eternites, uh, Roots of Pacha. I probably would not have I probably would not have played. I probably wouldn't even heard of it if I'm being honest. Uh, it's just really opened a lot of doors as far as, and Stars in Time. That's another one. Uh, I don't know if I would have played those games without the podcast and the reach that it's gotten. So and one more thing, I don't think I talked about this on the last podcast, but Spotify Wrapped is a thing that is going on now, and we got our first Spotify Wrapped for the Night Ride Home podcast, and I want to say I honestly couldn't tell you the amount of people that we reached just on Spotify. This was not like on all platforms, just Spotify. I want to say we had like 500 fans, maybe, like just an insane amount. You can go on the Facebook page, and I think also on Twitter. You can maybe see it there too. I'll have to post it if it's not there. Uh, but again, guys, thank you so much. We were streamed in a lot of different countries. We reached a lot of listeners, and I've I don't know if I've talked a whole lot about my last podcast, which was Here We Are, but that podcast, we put so much work into that show. We didn't just do the music side of things. That was what started us, interviewing local bands and stuff like that. But what really pushed us through, pushed me through, because I'm not going to say that the music interview thing wasn't my thing, because I did have a lot of fun with it. I met a lot of really good people that way. But when we did the second show, which was Here We Are Gaming, and we worked with Craig Robertson, and we had an episode with MC Fixer that was really cool. Uh, it's been a long time, so I don't remember who all we did those gaming shows with. Jay and Alex from no, I was about to say the wrong show, but they've got the We Are Not Game Devs podcast, and there's one more podcast. I feel really bad that I can't remember, but just so many people that we got the opportunity to work with on that show, and we did the Twitch streams, and in that entire time, I tried so hard to get us noticed by PR teams with gaming companies, and like, hey, we're Twitch streaming. We would really like to do reviews for your games. And not that long ago, I went back and I looked through the Here We Are email, just kind of like I don't know, like a closure thing. And as I was looking through all of our unread emails, we had one game code, one out of the dozens and dozens and dozens that we applied for. We had gotten one code, and I honestly wish that I could still have claimed it and and played it that way and reviewed it. But the code was expired because it was multiple years old. To fast forward to now, I did not think that this was going to be a thing. Never fails. Anyway, phone call interrupted. Back into it. I never thought this was going to be a thing that happened where it was going to take off. We were going to get accredited as members of the press and video gaming. We've made a lot of great contacts with a bunch of different PR teams, and next year is hopefully we're gonna grow even more. We're gonna keep doing this as long as we can, or as long as we want to. And Leo's not here to thank you guys with me, but I'm gonna thank him for you guys. Oh wait, I'm going to thank you for him. Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for listening, everybody, and I will see you next time.